Benson from Youth 101 with a video. This video is actually going to be based off one of my favorite books, David de Becker's The Gift of Fear. I actually got this book before I graduated high school, and I think it's one of the best coming of age books, or for teenagers or any adult who is moving away and moving home. This book warns and shows how to recognize the warning signs of people who may be potentially dangerous or unsafe to be around. I'm actually going to be sharing a personal story near the end of this video, but just for the beginning, I did want to say that this video is not very well suited for anyone below the age of 13. There will be no graphic details or anything about the personal story, but the message may not be well suited for anyone who's below high school and maybe below middle school age. And again, I have my books with a bunch of notes, so as you can see. And I may be reading off just a little bit, but from the personal story, I'll just go straight at it. So, first of all, someone who may be coercing you, such as forcing you and maybe the slightest way, is not someone you want to be around. If someone wants you to do something, they should tell you flat out. But if they're trying to manipulate you, they're of course no one to be around. And I want to say 7 points of people who are not great to be around. Oh, and you may see that the video may be shaking a little bit. I actually went out and bought a selfie stick. Okay, and now the video looks better. I went out and bought a selfie stick because sometimes when I'm filming, it's very difficult to have a stand. Pretty soon I'm going to be buying a tripod, but you guys will recognize once you can actually see me well and without all this shaking. Okay, back on topic. 7 signs that someone may not be maybe the best type of person to hang around or even be around if this person is a stranger. Are 7 things. The first is forced teaming. They use an inappropriate use of we. Rather than saying, let's say someone wants to get into your house and you're carrying a lot of groceries into your house or apartment, and they see a bag of cat food and they say, oh, let me help you, and you say no, for whatever reason. Maybe you've never seen this person around your apartment complex, which just sounds funny, but then they say, well, we have a hungry cat up there. How did they even know you had a cat? Just by looking on your cat food? Yeah, you have a hungry cat, but you don't need to be along with the other person to help you feed the cat. The second sign is no is no. Let's say you told this person, I don't want you helping me out with my groceries. They should understand that you have, that you don't feel comfortable with them. And they say, oh, well, let me help you anyway. Those bags are really heavy. No is no. Just like when it's rape, no means no. Third of all, is using the charm to compel you, such as usually this is by sharing experiences or trying to win you over by saying, oh wow, you're a pretty cool person and everything. You don't even know me. Why do you even say that I'm cool? I could be a total jerk for all you know. This book actually mentions a story about where a woman's the example I just gave earlier was a woman who was going up to her apartment with her groceries, and she saw this person that she never knew. To cut a story short, he ended up raping her once he helped her get the groceries into her house. If you already have warning signs or just you feel uneasy being nearby this person, just walk away. Go back in your car and just drive off. Call someone like, hey man, can you just come with me and help me get down my groceries, or call your neighbor to come and help you if you live in an apartment complex. You don't always have to call the police, but if it's really that suspicious, you can call the non-emergency number. Honestly, you can just Google it, and just for your city, like just Google non-emergency number for the city that you live in, and you can get an officer to come by and maybe look out around your house. You may even, hopefully you don't, but you may even find someone who's been watching you. Fourth of all, this person, in order to win you over, they use a lot of details, and they give you way too many details. Going back to that, to the example that's in the book, which is a real life example, is that the guy said, yeah, you have a hungry cat up there, and he said, yeah, you need to feed your cat because one of my friends had a cat who ended up starving. It was sick for a week, and then the cat got real sick. And so basically this guy goes off on a total tangent explaining why you need to feed your cat as an excuse for him to help you get your groceries up to your house. Like, okay, so what? Someone else's cat's hungry, but you helping me maybe by make me feed my cat 30 seconds faster? Or I may never be able to feed my cat because you may do something bad to me. Again, I have nothing wrong with people who actually are generally helping to trying to help you take your groceries to your apartment, but just we can trust, but then again, there's some bad feelings that you need to. If you have a bad feeling, you're better safe than sorry. Just listen to it. The next one is typecasting. The person may say, oh, well, you're probably too stuck up to talk to me anyway. And then they pretend that they're going to walk away from you. And you may want to prove that you're not stuck up by saying, okay, well, yeah, help me take my groceries up to my apartment. And they just got what they wanted, and you just wanted to prove to a total stranger that you're not indeed too stuck up to talk to them. Who cares what they think? You need to pay more attention as to your own personal safety. You're not being rude. You're telling them, I don't feel comfortable. No, thank you. That's it. You're not being rude. You're in no means violating your duty and also your life as a Christian by telling someone no. Next of all is loan sharking. These kind of people tend to do a favor and ask for a way bigger favor in return. In the case of the woman who let the guy help her with her groceries, he ended up raping her. So for helping someone carry your groceries up the stairs and having someone rape you, it's a pretty big fee. So she ultimately paid a very large price for saying no. And next of all, they will make promises. Again, what does a promise matter if it's from someone you don't know? It's like, okay, it's like saying, well, I promise. I promise I'll be gone the moment that I'll just set these groceries down and I promise I'll go. You have no basis of relationship with this person. Why are you going to take a promise from them? A promise only matters when you have like some history with that person or you've seen that they've been able to keep their promises. Why are you going to let someone in your house? It's like that whole rule with the vampires. They can't come in unless you invite them in. Most of the time that is true with criminals. And those were the 7 different ways to figure out if someone is potentially dangerous or a hazard to your health and your well-being. I wanted to point out that there's hazards, those things that you can't control, but there are things that you can minimize. Maybe like, one example, when I was actually going to find a filming location, I stopped by a park and I saw this girl running by herself. The park was almost empty and she was wearing earphones. I have nothing against that, although I did find out that she may be at risk for assault or for being robbed in that case. And a hazard is the potential of being assaulted. Now let's say it was a well-lit park or there was a police officer on duty, her risk would go down. Those hazards can't be removed. It's like driving a car. You have a potential of being in a car wreck or getting a flat tire. But by checking up your car, by driving safer, you have less risk of there being a disaster afterwards. Now I'm going to share my personal story. But before I do so, I want to share a piece of scripture. 2 Timothy 1:7. For For God did not give us a spirit of timidity. This is from the book of Timothy, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline. This is very important, that you have a spirit of power, even though you may be in a situation that you feel that you have no control. One time I was actually at my school. This was already when I was in college. The campus was empty. My teachers had left already, and a lot of my other classmates had already left. And I was waiting to be picked up. This was way before I could drive, and I was just sitting down, reading, trying to get a heads up on my homework, when someone came up to me and said, "Hello." What is this? Like, what? I didn't really say hello back until they introduced themselves and say, "Hey, yeah, I used to be on the bus that would go, when you go from college to college campuses." I was like, oh, hi, how you been? It's like, I just want to read. Why are you bothering me? And he said hello, and shook his hand, like, yeah, hello. When someone shakes a hand, it usually means I mean no harm, but people can misuse this in order to give you a false sense of security. It's something psychological. It may not be like, oh, I want you to feel safe around me, but it's like, I shouldn't have done that, because it kind of breaks the bubble around you. But then again, this was for me, where I come from a professional environment where I usually shake hands with my coworkers and with other people I'm being introduced with, or people I'm meeting with. But I wasn't feeling yet so scared, because I was inside the building, and I knew there was always security guards roaming the campus, and I know there were security cameras in place. I didn't feel like something bad was going to happen. And I'd been on campus when it was already pretty empty before. But then I started to feel more uneasy when he actually began to continue talking to me, standing up while I was sitting down, and kind of towering over me, even though I'm actually pretty tall for around the region I live in. And I had a purse at that time, and he began to peer over my purse, seeing what I have inside my purse, and I was just like, okay, that's making me more uncomfortable. Why are you seeing inside my stuff? And he kept on talking, and then he was just kind of just leading the conversation. I was just there, just sitting down. I was already hoping to leave if I needed to, and then he just continued making the conversation. He mentioned something about he had met he was dating someone. That he had been dating someone, but then she met someone else, and then it made me, and then it started to get me uncomfortable when he mentioned some other things, and it went downhill pretty fast after he mentioned that, and I just said, oh well, I gotta go, bye. I just told him, I kind of made it clear I didn't want him to be around me anymore. It's I stopped him and I said, I don't like it that you just told me stuff about that, and I don't feel comfortable, so please just leave me alone. So he just said goodbye, and he left. Supposedly gonna go wait for his bus, down the other hallway, from the window, and I was just there sitting, and I'm just thinking, okay, I can leave this building and find a security, or I can just wait until my mom gets here. And my mom wasn't answering the phone, so it was making me much more nervous. So then I just well, my mom's usually not that late, so I'll just wait more. So I began to wait, and I began to hear the guy going in and out of the door multiple times, and I'm just thinking, oh great, he can come in through that door, and he can come in through another door to get me, because I'm in the middle, and there were different doors going down different hallways. I was basically in the center, and there were different sticks going out, and he was down one of them, so he could come out. And I was just I was starting to panic. I got up, tried to get my stuff as quietly as possible. From where I was, he couldn't see me, and I couldn't see him. So I was wearing high heels at the time because I was dressed for a professional meeting, um, getting ready to go to a conference, and I tried to tiptoe, but I think about that time he actually had come back to talk to me, and I heard his footsteps, so I began walking faster, and I could hear him walking behind me, and when I remembered the stuff in this book, and it told me, when you're going to be, like, if you feel scared, if you're going to, don't just look out of the corner of your eye. Your peripheral vision's not that great, and you can't see. So I just, midway when I just heard him, I just turned completely around, and he was there. But he was around like 20 feet behind me, because the last 50 feet, I didn't care if I was silent anymore. I just started clanking my feet down the hallway. And like he just kind of just casually turned, put his hand like on the men's restroom, like if he was gonna go like into the restroom and not go after me. So he ended up, and he just looked at me. So he had been looking at me, and that's why we had eye contact. So I just turned right back around, and I just flew out the exit. And when I got out, I said, oh man, he can come now after me after that. He's still inside the building, but there's different doors leading outside, so he can still get me. So I'm just thinking, how can I get out where he can't see me, but there's a bunch of windows anywhere? I was already in panic mode, dude. I was already just trying to survive. I was already fleeing. And I saw another man walking outside who looked like a teacher, and I wanted to tell him, but I don't know, I ended up just walking to another building. I just kept, and like I felt like he could see me from the other windows of the other building, like you could see me running, but I'm still running. I like, there's not many cameras around me, so I just like kept on running. And I found a custodian staff, and I told them, I was already shaking, like my voice is already shaking right now. I'm like told him like, I'm being followed. Can you get security? And like he said, okay, and I said, wait here, and like he went to go get the security. I shouldn't have done that. I should have gone with him. I shouldn't have stayed alone. And he brought the security back, and the security said, okay, well, what's happening? He interviewed me. I told him what had happened, and I even described the person. Like I said his name, like his first name that I remembered. I told him what program he was in, because I had asked him that during the conversation. He's in this program. He said he was gonna go on the bus, and he's like around this build. This is his skin color. He had a recent haircut, like a 00 or a 0 haircut. Like he had a mole here, and like I said he was wearing this jacket, and his backpack was this color. So like I described, and like his feet like were like size 9 to 11. So I described him to the security guard, and the security guard said, wow, that's pretty impressive. Not many people in your situation are able to remember. I says, well, I've kind of heard of stuff about this, so, and this book kind of helped. And the security guard ended up staying with me, and then I waited until my mom finally called me back, like 2 hours later. Something bad could have happened by then. And when she was with me, the security escorted me to my car, and like the guy wasn't there, but I was just so happy that I was just out of that situation. It was just a bad situation, and it's happened before, but not like this dangerously, where I actually panic and like am looking for help. And it was the first time I reported being stalked, because I'd been stalked in other ways, but it wasn't as threatening as this. And I wanted to encourage anyone who's being even stalked as much as this personal incident, or even slightly by someone else, is to, maybe if you don't report it, but do something about it. Reduce your risk. Make sure you're not, look, I understand having alone time, but there's a thing such as maybe not walking down the darker corridor, or not going down the way that has cameras, or putting on your headphones at night when you're outside, in a bad neighborhood. Just be smart about it. If you wouldn't, just think of it this way, if you don't want like a 5-year-old be in that situation, don't put yourself in that situation either. I'm available on my Facebook for if you have any concerns or you want to share a personal story, want to talk about it. We also have other counseling team here in Youth 101 that you may want to talk about. And I'm just going to wrap up this video. It's already like 20 minutes and 26 seconds long with another Bible verse. It's, if you make the Most High your dwelling, even the Lord who is my refuge, then no harm will befall you, no disaster will come near your tent. And this is from Psalms 91, 9-10. So I basically by putting my instincts, when I realized that his conversation was not very godly, I knew that it wasn't safe. So I began to try to get myself out of that situation, and by doing so, by getting out of that building, I made sure I was safe. Maybe I wouldn't have been physically hurt or anything, but it was a toxic environment for me to be nearby that person. And by doing so, I prevented something from happening. And I may never know what may have happened, but I'm so glad it never did happen. And what I do not regret is sharing this video for it, because I know I'm putting myself out there. People making ugly comments, because I'm also putting this video on YouTube, or just opening myself up, letting my future employers know about these situations. But I'm doing it for the better good. I'm doing it so people can know that these things kind of happen to anyone, and to know that you're not alone. There's people who have gone through the same situation. Like all of my friends in high school, all of them had been stalked at least once within the past year of their senior year. You're not alone. God's with you, and there's other people you can talk to if you've already been through this, or you're just scared and think it might happen. And other than that, have a great week. Bye.